Are you ready to play all your favorite Adobe Flash games right on your Steam Deck using EmuDeck and ESDE? We are going to give you a complete tutorial on how to set this up. You ready to play Angry Birds? Let's do it.
Let's go into the MonroeWorld.
Hi everybody, Shane R. Monroe here. Let's get to it. Our first stop is going to be the Discover store. We need to actually install something called Ruffle. This is a Flash emulator, for the lack of a better term. This will allow us to actually play Flash games and movies. So we're going to select it, but be careful. When you do this, use from FlatHub, but use FlatHub user. This is going to make sure it's inside the home directory and not in some weird location where we can't get to it. We're going to hit install. And as soon as you see launch, we're good. That's all we have to do in Discover. It's not going to stay this easy, folks. So bear with me. The next thing we need to do is actually create an entry in ESDE for Ruffle. Now, EmuDeck has to be installed. We're going to be using ESDE as our launcher. So that's how this works. Hopefully you got that from the description. To do that, we're going to have to add a custom system to ESDE because Ruffle isn't officially supported yet. Go into your Dolphin file manager. I'm going to hit split so I have two areas to work with. In this side, I'm going to go to Home and ESDE, enter the Custom Systems directory, and find essystems.xml. Right-click, open with Kate or the text editor of your choice. Okay, so this, let's zoom it up a little bit so you guys can see better. That looks pretty good. This is a list of all the custom systems that EmuDeck already installed into ESDE for you. So this is one of the reasons why you use EmuDeck and not standalone emulators. Okay, we're going to go to the bottom. What we need to do is grab one of these systems and clone it and then modify it for our use. So I'm going to highlight it, and you could do edit copy. I'm going to try to avoid doing keyboard shortcuts. You guys all yell at me when I do that. And I'm going to back myself up. And edit paste. Okay, well, it didn't quite line up right, but that's okay. This is the system that we're interested in. That's a little bit better. Just trying to make this a little more readable. You guys don't have to do this. It'll work whether it looks like crap or it doesn't. All right, so now we can see that we've cloned the 3DS system. Well, obviously, we don't want it to stay 3DS. We want to change it over to run Adobe Flash stuff through Ruffle. So we're going to actually call it Ruffle. The full name, though, we'll say is Adobe Flash, because that's kind of what it is. Now, the ROM path. We could use Flash, but if we did and put games in there, then the built-in Flash that doesn't work on the Steam Deck will show up in ESDE. We don't want that. So instead, we're going to say that the ROM path is Ruffle. And we're going to, of course, have to go make that folder, do all that good stuff. But that's all we really need to do. All right, let's go ahead and change our extensions. Now, obviously, for Shockwave Flash or Adobe Flash, it's .swf. Now, remember, upper and lowercase mean different things to Linux, right? So .swf in lowercase, it's not the same as capital SWF or period capital SWF or SWF. Right, so you could add all of these just in case wherever you're getting your games from doesn't label them consistently or name them consistently with the right extension. But as long as you're willing to rename them to whatever you put here, you're good. Now, there are three different types of 3DS emulators, so that's why there's three command labels. We're going to get rid of the first two, right? I'm going to go in there, I'm going to delete it. And for the command label, we're going to call it Ruffle. And because it is a standalone, it's not part of RetroArch or anything like that. It's its own standalone. We're going to leave it named standalone. Now, here's the fun part. It's saying, so the command is emulator Azahar, which is a variable. That's not very helpful. And then the actual ROM name that gets selected from inside ESDE. So we need to find out where Ruffle is and replace this variable with the exact location of the Ruffle executable or the Ruffle emulator. And then we're going to make a couple more changes. So how do we do that? Well, you're going to learn some console stuff today. So let's go to console. Again, I'll zoom. Can I zoom up in here? I forget. There we go. Now, I've already had this typed in, so I don't have to type it in longhand. All right, so the command you're going to use is flatpak info -- show -- location rs - ruffle - capital ruffle. Yeah, I know. So if you were to look at it all in one line, that's what it looks like. All right, and when you hit enter, wow, that is some path. That's why we're actually going to use this to help us find the Ruffle executable. Whew, can you imagine typing all this in by hand? I can't. So I'm going to grab all this, right click, hit copy. So this is off of the home, local, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's go back down to Dolphin. Inside of this window, we're going to go up here and we're going to paste. Okay, I'll right click and paste. I'm going to scare you with keyboard commands. Okay, and then I'll hit enter. Okay, so the Ruffle executable's not in here. So there's no like ruffle.exe, so to speak. There's no app pack or app image in here, nothing. Okay, so we go into files because I happen to know it's here, but you might explore around and see what you think. Then go into bin. Oh, there's Ruffle, right? So we need this executable plus its whole path. Well, fortunately, Dolphin does something cool for us. Right click it, select copy location, and it will copy the entire path, including the file name. Okay, you didn't see anything, but if we go back to Kate and we replace this percent emulator Azahar percent, that whole thing has to be replaced. Oh, all right, so we've replaced this variable that says where the emulator is because they define it in some other file, but we're going to take a shortcut here. And this is the whole path to the whole thing, space ROM. Okay, well, that should work, but I happen to know that Ruffle starts in windowed mode. Most everyone's going to want to play Flash games in full screen, right? So between these commands, we're going to go -- full screen. Make sure there's a space on either side. So once again, we've changed the command to that really long path Ruffle, say full screen, and then pass the ROM path and name so that it can launch it. Okay, and for this platform, it is the Flash platform, and we're going to let the theme be Flash too. So anything that Flash used, you know, icons, all that stuff, it will use those for this new custom system. So this is going to work out really well, I promise. All right, so we've got everything saved. Bloop. Okay, sorry. Save. All right, get out of here. So we do have to find our emulation folder. Now, if you used my tutorials, you can use your virtual folder. Otherwise, navigate to your emulation folder and find your ROMs. Now, if you put things in Flash, that's not going to work. Remember we talked about this? Flash does not work. We need a Ruffle folder because that's where I told it the ROMs were going to go for my custom system. And I can already tell you right now, there's no Ruffle. So let's right click, create new folder. And remember case sensitivity. So all lowercase Ruffle, exactly like we did it in the custom systems list. Okay. Now you probably have already guessed that we probably need to put some stuff in here. But before we do that, real quick, just for giggles, let's go up to Flash and make sure there's nothing in there, first of all. Flash. See, there's some stuff in here, like media and all that. I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to copy it over to Ruffle. Now, there's a few reasons why. If you're interested in knowing why I'm going to do this, let me know in the comments down below. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video. I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. This one's a little bit longer. But I wanted to emulate or look like the Flash folder, but without the Flash folder, because I don't want Flash and Ruffle to both load into the UI. Okay, now we have to put some ROMs over here, right? Well, they're not ROMs, they're Shockwave Flash files. So I happen to have downloaded a handful. It should be easy enough for you to find them on the internet. It took me no time at all to find like 1,000 of them. I'm going to put over Angry Birds, Commando 2. I'd put over Donkey Kong, but I really don't want Nintendo kicking my butt. Is there anything else in here that sounds good? I just grabbed a handful. Pixel Blast, that sounds good. Copy those all over. I'm going to move them, but copy them all over to the Ruffle folder, right? So if you know ESDE, when we launch ESDE, we should now see a Ruffle game system that looks like Flash, that has these 3 games in them that will actually run when we call for the game to run. Let's see if we're right. We'll launch ESDE. Here we go. Well, it's taking a little bit longer than normal. I hope that's a good sign. Oh, hey, look at that. We got Adobe Flash. It's at the beginning because we called it Adobe Flash, right? That's why it's at the front. Little extra tip. Now, if we go in here, hey, look at that. Angry Birds, Commando 2, and Pixel Blast. Ah, but will they run? Let's find out. Hey, it's working. Now listen, if you didn't see this, if it didn't come up with the game, you probably messed something up in the text file. Go back, double check. One space can throw everything off. Now, you can use the touchscreen for Angry Birds, right? It was made for phones. I'm going to use my mouse pointer. You can use the touchscreen for this game. Too bad it's in another language, but listen, it's Angry Birds. Everybody on the planet knows how to play freaking Angry Birds, all right? As you can see, it works fine. Now, how do you get out? Now, ESDE, normally you would hold down, select, and hit start, but that doesn't work because this emulator doesn't have keystrokes or anything assigned to it. So how do you get out of here? Well, if you're in desktop mode, you can hit the Windows key on your keyboard, right? And then you could right click and click out. If you were in gaming mode, you could, of course, hit the Steam button and close it manually. But that would suck, right? This whole concept of having to manually close stuff, that kind of sucks, right? So we're going to do the next best thing. We're going to add some basic keyboard controls that will let us escape from there as part of ESDE's launcher. Sounds more complicated than it is. Now, I happen to know that Ruffle's keystrokes to leave or to exit is Control Q. Control Q. Let's go to the library. Let's find ESDE app image and go to your controller icon. Now, there's many ways to skin this cat. I'm going to do the simplest, easiest way to get you running. If you really wanted to do it proper, there are actually like blank profiles here that you can go in and make your own profile for Ruffle. If you're interested in seeing that, leave a comment in the description below. For now, though, we're going to enable the back grip buttons. So we have some extra buttons that we're not used to using. And we need a Control Q. Now, the best way to do this is to make one of these buttons Control and the other one Q, so you don't accidentally hit one of them to exit the game. That would probably piss you off, right? So let's make R4 our Control key. So if you hold down R4, it's like you're holding down Control. And then if you tap R5, send a Q. This look like a Q to you? How about now? All right, so we've got that. Technically speaking, this should work. Control Q with the holding down the R4 and tapping R5 should get us out of the Angry Birds game or any other Flash game. All right, let's go in and find out. Let's see if I'm right. Okay, here we go. Let's see about Commando 2, because I want to show you something else that's a pain in the butt. Oh, wait a minute. That's kind of interesting. Why is it so small? Well, you may find things like this. Now, if you're in gaming mode, this actually looks correct, if I remember right. But I want to just show you something really fast here, because you're probably going to try some of these games and go, hey, I can't do anything, and the controls don't do anything either. But, of course, if you had a keyboard, and I bet the spacebar does stuff and everything else, right? Yeah, but you're not going to be playing with a keyboard, right? Now, if you need some help coming up with a Steam input profile to maybe help out with this, let me know. We can do that. Now, let's test our escaping. I'm going to reach over my microphone here, hold down R4 and hit, there it is. Yes. So we have a quick way to get out that's actually good. Let's see what this Pixel Blast looks like. It's already here, right? Oh, this looks much better. Internet Flash game database. Who knew there was so much stuff out here in Flash, huh? All right, let's see if this happens to be, Lord. Yeah, yes. Come on now. We'd like to actually play the game at some point. Muncie. Melcy. Go to spacebar or something? What do we got going on here? Why is this taking so long? I just want to play the game. Well, maybe not all games work, right? Maybe some of them use some implementation of Flash that Ruffle doesn't cover. This is definitely something that's going to happen to you, right? Let's exit out. Okay, so we know some things are going to work, some things are not going to work, and some things are going to need some help or a keyboard attached, because Flash games were designed to be run on a computer or a phone, right? So find the phone games. Those will probably all work with your touchscreen on your Steam Deck. Otherwise, you're going to need to do some funky stuff. Now, you're probably asking yourself, hey, what are the chances that I could scrape this and actually have stuff come back? Well, I was curious too. And because I'm curious, I'm going to do this for you. We're going to select Adobe Flash. All right, we got one thing selected, and we'll scroll down to start. I'm working around a camera here, microphone. Here we go. All right, so let's see if it'll actually successfully scrape. Look at that. Who knew? Who frickin' knew? All right, well, this is cool. So you can scrape. You can make this look, of course, you can add your own graphics and artwork if you don't like what they've got going on. So, all right, so I did what I promised. I've got Flash games working on your Steam Deck. Obviously, there's a few things you need to work through. Again, if you want to see more videos, let me know in the comments down below. Now, looky there. That's not Commando, though. That's not the game that we were looking at. Something tells me that it says it's a hack of the original Commodore version, but I don't think it looks like that. So your scraping mileage may vary. Listen, if you like what we're doing here, did you enjoy this? Did you get something out of it? Are you going to love playing all your old Flash games? Leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe. 92% of you are not subscribed. Let's make that number go away. All right, that's going to do it for me. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time.